Hey, welcome back here to the Central PA Pour, and I am Brett.
I'm Ben.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Dave.
And as you can see, we are at a new location, another location, and we're going to let the gentleman sitting in front of us tell us where we are at, where they can find you, and everything about your establishment.
Okay, wonderful. My name is Jeff Lau. We're at Mudhook Brewing Company. We are York County's oldest brew pub. We are located at 34 North Cherry Lane. We are behind the Strand Capitol and attached to the Central Market in downtown York.
Wow, so York's oldest brew house, correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So how long has it been that you've been here?
July 19th will be 11 years.
11 years. So that is awesome, Jeff. Thank you for having the CPP crew here. We've been looking forward to this. I know I've been in this location several times on and off, so we're happy to be here. So, Ben, tell us a little bit about where they can find us.
You can find us at Central PA Pour on all your favorite social media spots and podcast listening platforms, YouTube as well. Please subscribe to the channel. We have been breaking down a lot of our long episodes into shorter clips. You know, not everybody wants to sit down and watch the full thing, and that's all good. So tune into the YouTube channel, watch those shorter clips. Find us at Central PA Pour on all of the socials. Thank you for tuning in.
And we have done a couple live videos.
We have.
As we've gotten some good reviews out of that, Ben, or?
The engagement has been great when we've done it. You know, we've done two, and it's been positive so far. So we're looking forward to continue that as well. And I forgot to mention our link tree, which you'll find on all of our social platforms as well as on our podcast descriptions on your podcast platforms. On there, it'll link you to all of our social stuff. It'll link you to a guest form if you want to join the crew, shoot some shit, and drink some beers with the boys. Fill out a guest form, and we'll get back to you. Also, look out for the merch coming soon. So we're working on some stuff there. We appreciate all your support.
Yeah, so sounds good. So, again, we are sitting at Mudhook Brewing, 10 North Cherry Lane. Is that?
34.
34 North Cherry Lane.
Yeah.
But we are attached to the Central Market.
Yes. Yep.
So what made you start Mudhook Brewing?
Well, my son-in-law is my brewer, and he graduated from Virginia Tech, and he got a job, and he was home brewing. And I was drinking Molson Golden about that time. And he was bringing stouts and IPAs over, and I was like, ooh, this stuff is, And the economy went a little south, and he was laid off for a little bit. And I said, well, what would you do if you couldn't be a brewer? And I like to ask that question because most of us do not get a job in the field of our choice. We end up getting a job, we start to make some money, and then we're stuck there most of our life. I was in insurance for 35 years, and it was good to me, but it's not my dream job. And so he said, I'd love to be a brewer. And I always kind of wanted them. I like to talk to people, so I kind of wanted to own a little place, and my wife always refused to even consider that. So I said, let's look around, take 6 months and look around. And we went to about a dozen different places, and decided that, yeah, we think we can do this. And then we found this location. It took us about a year. So we worked for a year just renovating this place before we were able to open. But then on July 19th, 2011, we had our grand opening.
Wow, so I think it's pretty cool that you are attached to the market. And I noticed when we were here that the brew tanks are actually on the market side.
They are. It's actually a completely different location.
Okay.
As far as the mailing address. They're 34 West Philadelphia Street, and we're 34 North Cherry. So, yeah, the tanks are outside. Only place in Pennsylvania, at least 10 years ago when we opened. It was the only place in Pennsylvania, and I know that because the Liquor Control Board was like crazy over the idea that we were going to do this. I didn't really see what the big problem was. And eventually, they didn't either. So
So you get people walking through the market, and they're probably looking for the vegetables, the food, and the arts and stuff that are in there. And next thing you know, you come across some brew tanks. Oh, shit, beer.
We get quite a few people. Now, their hours are different. They're 135 or 140 years old, and their hours are 6 to 2, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. That's what they were 140 years ago, and they haven't changed.
They haven't changed.
And so we have people come in, but it would be nice if they adjusted their hours, because obviously Tuesdays and Thursdays, most people aren't drinking at lunch.
Most.
That's true.
Hey, I'm going to take a second here and plug the walkthrough video that we've been doing here. So,
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you for that. Could you add in that tidbit that you mentioned about the structure and the ceiling
Sure.
and the market?
The main street in York is called Market Street, and that's because prior to this building, there was an open-air building right on the street out there, and that's where the market was, and that's how it got its name. And then 135 to 140 years now, they built this building specifically to be the farmer's market. And the roof on this looks a lot like the bottom of a ship, and that's because they had Baltimore shipbuilders design and build the roof for this building.
Wow.
The part that Mudhook is in, I believe, is a stable, because when we did our renovations, the floor has a bunch of real wide brick columns, which I think would have supported the boards going across, and the wall that you can't see now on the outside of our building, I'm pretty sure is stone, but my wife made me promise I wouldn't touch that wall.
That's kind of interesting. We had just recorded with Fat Bat, and they have a similar thing about where the horse and carriages were. They noticed some of the way the brick was laid and stuff. So that's a lot of history in this building.
Yeah.
Is that what made you really select this location, or was it just because it was available, it suited your needs?
No, we like the skylights, the bones of the building. My wife and I live in a log cabin house. When we bought it, it had aluminum siding on it. And we took the aluminum off, we took the wood siding off, and renovated the other part of it. My insurance agency was in a building that looked a little bit like Camden Yards down in Baltimore. And I had my architect and my engineer down there, and I said, within my budget, I want my office to look like this. Well, they went way outside of my budget, but it did look like that, and so I like old buildings. Quick story is, about 3 weeks before we opened, someone said, what does an insurance agent and an engineer know about running a restaurant and brewing beer? And I was really offended, because we had the courage. I mean, nobody else in New York's doing this. We had the courage to do it. And I looked at my wife, and I had a few choice words, and then about 3 days before we opened, I looked at my wife again, and I said, what do we know about this? Oh my God, what have we done? Tim's brewing this outstanding beer, but we have to have a way to get it to the public. We have to find a way to coordinate the food, and it was a challenge.
Well, and 11 years later, you're still in business.
Absolutely.
So kudos.
Thank you.
Things have worked out well. It is a centerpiece. Walking in here, it's very cozy.
It is.
And it's definitely worth making a visit here to Cherry Lane. And just outside, Cherry Lane it's its own architectural and gravity. People come to Cherry Lane for certain events. They have stuff out here. So do you participate with anything outside of this area? Like if they do events outside, like downtown York?
Not so much. The LCB makes it difficult to do anything off premise, really.
Right.
And so you have to close the streets and all that, and it's just a manpower issue. We've had events out here right in Cherry Lane, and the string of lights that are down through there are things that we did have installed, because it was a little bit of a dark alley at night, especially in the winter. And so we had those lights put up. We didn't pay for all of it, but we had the lights put up. And we do have our own events outside. We'll put we'll put 12 tons of sand out on the porch and out in the parking area over there. And we'll have live music Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We call it a beach party. And we'll triple what we would do in a normal weekend in the summer.
Wow.
And people tell me that it was the best night they had all year, and I'm a little concerned for those people. I hope you like Mudhook, and I hope you like our beach party, but come on, it couldn't be your best night,
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I mean, this has been a story that I thought would be worth coming in and talking to you with, Jeff. And we're thankful that you are allowing us to do this and you're sitting down and talking, because I think it is something that you should be focused on. Being York's first, I kind of remember when you opened up. There wasn't much around other than a couple restaurants, and downtown York looked a lot different 11 years ago.
It sure did, yeah. There's a lot of other very, very nice places. That's the beauty is, there are other places down here that are almost as nice as our place. And, a lot of opportunities. There are different styles of breweries down here that have a different kind of focus. And so there's opportunity for everybody. It's very nice.
Yeah, so
One of our previous guests, Glenn Smith from Brewery Tours, mentioned that he tried to play his part in the revitalization of York, and it sounds like you were one of the leaders here. So,
yeah.
The city gets kind of a bad rap. I mean, I've been involved in townships and stuff for different properties and all, and everybody acts like the city's so terrible. And they have been easy to do business with as any township. And the police department here is fabulous. The firemen are fabulous. I mean, the community is everybody wants you to succeed, I believe. So it's been I'm glad we're here.
Yeah, so, and I grew up in York, and I remember coming down here and running the circuit on weekends.
Yeah.
Make your trips around, go out and do whatever, but the center of York, it's become more of a destination, and for tourism, inviting. It's very inviting. There's a lot of businesses that have been opened up recently, and I think it's great for York City.
Absolutely.
You got to change that aspect and that visual of people for somebody that's been in York all their lives. So it's great, and we're glad. I'm going to say you are one of the leaders that started it.
I'll take that. Yeah, I thank you for saying that, but it is true. I mean, like I said, there are other people, lots and lots and lots of unspoken people that are involved in this. One person couldn't begin to do things. So there's tons of people that deserve credit.
But you took that chance in starting a brewery, York's first craft brew house.
Right.
Because I think York had some breweries back way before my time.
Yes, they did.
So, yes.
Where'd your name come from?
Well, Mudhook is another name for an anchor, and we wanted to be an anchor location in the revitalization of downtown York. When my daughter first said, she is a journalism major from Virginia Tech, and so she came up with the name, and I'm like, ooh, Mudhook, I don't know. And then when she explained to me what it was, I thought, that's very cool. Now, I've told that story. You were 10 years old. I've told that story at least 1,000 times, maybe 10,000 times. But that's okay. People care, and they want to know. And so we are not the only location. We are just one of them, but we are one of the key locations in downtown York.
So 11 years later, would you change anything? Thinking back?
I've been in business for most of my life. I worked with my father for 10 years in the insurance agency, and then I bought his, and I bought a bunch of other family businesses. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to be right. This is my theory. Nobody really asked, but my theory is you have to be right 2 out of 3 times. And you can't be afraid.
Right.
And I've never been afraid to make mistakes. I've made them. But both of my sons were really, really good shooting basketball players. Good basketball players, but really good shooters. And a good shooter knows they're going to make 5 out of 10. And so I was not a good shooter. And so when I missed 2, I didn't want to take any more. When they missed 5, they knew they were going to make the next 5. So they wanted the ball. They were going to shoot and be successful. And I feel that way about the business. I mean, I could make 3. As long as it's 2 out of 3, it's not going to always be 2 out of 3. Sometimes I make 3 mistakes in a row. But the next challenge comes along, and I know I'm going to get it right. And so you can't be afraid if you're going to be an entrepreneur. Right. And you're going to make mistakes, and you have to learn to be able to live with them and just say, That one cost me, but I'll get it the next time.
And you learn from those mistakes. If you
Absolutely.
don't learn and
Yeah.
get back up, you're just afraid.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
I was just thinking, if I'm correct, you opened up just shy after that last recession, right? It was 2008. You came in at 11, or
We came in at 11, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
so as the market was just starting to go back up.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were packed. It was amazing. I was mortified that it was going to stay like that. Now it's leveled off. You know, every new place is like that. But being a brew pub and
Yeah.
again with no experience, it was quite a eye-opening experience.
Good.
So what do we have first here, Jeff?
Yeah, let's get into one.
Yeah, I'm dry here. I need a beer. So the first one is our Hook Bender Double IPA.
Oh, right up your alley, Kevin.
Oh boy.
Okay, this is always on tap and has been ever since we opened. This would be my son-in-law, Tim Wheeler. Tim is an outstanding brewer. We have a very nice spread of beers. We usually have 10 beers on tap, and I think we have a very nice spread. This is probably Tim's favorite beer, and has been on tap from day one. The Hook Bender Double IPA, it is 8% ABV. Balanced but hop forward after being double dry hopped. I got to be careful when I say that. Featuring Summit, Cascade, and Chinook hops.
So yeah,
Cheers, fellas.
cheers. So follow us on Untapped. Now, Jeff, are you an Untapped? Do you
We
do
are.
the? So
I don't do it personally, but
you got people.
yes.
Actually pretty good.
That is good.
On
That's
Un-
pretty good for an IPA.
On Untapped, this is coming
Very
in
good.
at a 3.52 average rating with almost 2,000 check-ins.
It is
Nice.
definitely, you can definitely get the hops out of it. So it is definitely a dry hop beer. The hops are right there, but it's not overbearing.
Well, and I would tell you that my description of Tim's brewing style is that it's always beer. You're drinking beer. Nothing goes over the top. We had a blueberry beer. We had a peach beer. And there's a hint of those things, but you're still drinking beer. And so when everything he brews, we had a pumpkin beer, and you get to some places and like, oh man, that's really strong.
Yeah.
Here you're always drinking beer.
Yeah.
So
It's
I like
actually very good. And, a 3.75 for me is pretty high for any kind of IPAs or anything. I'm going to give that a 3.75 because that is a drinkable. It's dry like an IPA should be because that's what the bitterness and the hotness comes out of it. But I like it. Dave, what are you thinking? Because you're the IPA king.
Yeah, give me my crown back. Yeah, sure. I'm more of a stout man, but I like it. It tastes good. I've had other IPAs that just flat out lost me. But this is good. I can drink this. You mentioned pumpkin beer. I was just curious, for myself, how does the pumpkin beer do? Are there a lot of people that like it, or
You know what? All those specialty beers like that. We have an 8-barrel system, so we brew about 2,000 pints. And the problem is when we do the peach wheat, the first 1,000 just runs off the shelf, and then we're stuck with 1,000
Oh.
because the next beer out is the pumpkin, and the pumpkin's coming out now in way before pumpkins.
Kind of like Christmas in July stuff coming out.
Late
yeah.
summer, they're probably pushing the Halloween stuff already.
And then the Oktoberfest comes out in September, early September. And so, in our place, we're just not selling those kinds of beers fast enough. So we haven't done, when we did the peach wheat, we did 20 crates of peaches, and we had guests come in and help peel them, and we pureed them. Tim won't use seasoning. He uses
Real stuff.
fruit. And so the pumpkins, we baked off the pumpkins. And the problem is everybody else was bringing pumpkin beer out before we could get ours done because they were using seasoning.
Right.
And and then people want to put cinnamon on the rim, and I I can't do that.
You're not.
So-
You're not a foo-foo kind of guy, right?
Ron, Tim doesn't like that. So there are certain things that Tim doesn't want me to do, and I respect that because he's the brewer. I
Yeah.
want him to
Don't ruin my beer.
And so we we just end up pouring some away, so we got away really in the last couple of years of the peach. And, there's always those 12 people that come in and go, oh my gosh, you're not going to do that. And then, no, I'm sorry, So we don't do the pumpkin anymore. The October is my favorite beer. I prefer a lager beer, and the October is my favorite.
You mentioned that about putting the cinnamon on the pumpkin beer. That brings up something that I've always thought about. You always hear, especially in some of the older movies. Now, I like to watch the older movies. They won't, they won't watch anything older than a week.
Gunsmoke?
Bullshit.
But anyway, I hear this a lot. He says, "Put an egg in my beer." Is that something that is that a lot of people ask for it, or haven't you ever heard of that?
I've never heard that. No.
Never
what
heard of that.
movie's that? I love old movies.
Oh, you look at some of the
boy,
old
you guys
shows.
this conversation's going to last forever.
Gunsmoke, 1923.
Yeah, right. Yeah, egg in my beer and an old western. Anyway, I'm talking
that.
about the old, like the old Peter Gunn series and
Yeah.
some of the older shows. You hear a guy walk up and he'll say, this is put an egg in my beer, and I have never done it. I've never put an egg in my beer. I just can't imagine what it would taste like.
That sounds like a live episode we got to try.
What, putting an egg in your beer?
No, in yours. Not in ours, in yours.
You can.
So we did for St. Patrick's Day, we had an egg eating contest. We had a scavenger hunt, and it was built around the movie Cool Hand Luke.
Oh yeah, it's a
So
good
they
movie.
had to go, shaking the bush boss and all
Oh,
the
that's
different things.
awesome.
So we had an egg eating contest, and it wasn't like his. I mean, he ate 50 or something
Sure.
in an hour,
Wow. So eggs, beer. Oh, man, my wife would love me at night.
Yeah, really. Tim doesn't like when I put green dye in a
Oh,
beer.
the green
so,
dye in
yeah,
the
so
beer.
we
for
don't
the
put
St. Patrick's Day.
we don't put
yeah.
too much.
So Jeff, over a decade in the business, have you dabbled in the brewing side of things at all?
Not at all. I try to surround myself with people who are capable, and I let them do their thing. Now, I am in the kitchen nowadays because that is I can't find anybody who's capable. And that's not true. I have two guys that are helping that are part-time guys that are very good cooks, but they're just part-time. And my full-time guys just... it's just hard to get them. So for us to be open the hours that we've been open, I have to go back in the kitchen. And so right now we have a limited menu so that a guy like me can learn to cook. But Tim would like somebody to help him brew, but somebody that knows what they're doing, not somebody who's asking questions the whole time, somebody who contributes.
Somebody with a little background but could be an apprentice and learn.
Yeah. One time I was out there with him and the kettle starts, the top starts boiling like this. I said, "Is that supposed to do that?" And he said, "No." And he said, "But I was distracted by you." And I said, "Okay, I got the hint. I'm out of here, baby."
So you had mentioned you were drinking Molson before you started Mudhook. So is Molson still in your fridge, or are you stocking just your beer in your fridge?
Oh, no, we just have the growlers of our beer.
Okay, I'm
I
just
said.
checking.
Yeah, I think our spread's really good. Now, my wife likes the stout, and we don't have that as a sample tonight. The deep sea stout is
Which
always
is very good.
on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's always on tap, and he's transferring it. We ran out on Saturday night. He's transferring it tomorrow, and so we'll have it back on tap. But we don't have it for you guys tonight.
Yes.
But
I've had that several times. I think you like that too
Yeah.
as well, Kevin.
Yeah, we've been here quite a few times and love listening to the stories.
Yeah. So that's what's great about doing this. So you had mentioned in the walkthrough that you did with Ben and Dave, you have a bell that you ring.
Yeah.
What is that all about? And how did it come?
I don't know. Things happen here, and they become tradition. And it's like, who thought of that? I'm like, I don't know. It must have been me with Piano Man, but I don't know. I'm going to say it's 4 or 5 years. Every Friday and Saturday now, I ring this big bell hanging up. Usually there's people sitting underneath there, and I joke that, don't worry, that bell's only ever fallen down one time. And they laugh. And then I tell people, hey, you're expected to sing along, and I pick somebody out of the crowd sometimes and say, and if you don't,
You're
then
buying.
I'm kicking your butt right out of here. And,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And so we have everybody laughs, and sometimes this people want to come behind the bar, ring the bell, and so I let them do that sometimes. And one time a lady came back and she came back and rang the bell when the song was over. So a couple days later, her friend the next week, her friend said, "Can I ring the bell?" And I said, "Yeah." And it was later and we weren't that busy. And my buddy was standing out here and I said, "Listen, here's what we're going to do." I said, "We're going to ring the bell and we're going to sing piano, or we'll sing Happy Birthday to Jeremy." Yeah, it wasn't she just wanted to ring the bell. And I said, "Yeah, but we're going to sing Happy Birthday to this guy." And he's standing out here and so we all sing Happy Birthday. Well, it wasn't his birthday, but she didn't know it. Nobody else knew it. He turned red. So we have a lot of fun in here.
Well, maybe he got some free drinks out of that fake birthday thing.
Well, he helps me a lot. So
Okay.
he gets a lot of free drinks.
So, I mean, that's what's great about these, sitting down with people like you, Jeff, and others. There are unique things about what you're doing, and it's just cool that it's something unique that's here only, and the people that come here understand it, and if they've never been there and it happens, it might bring them back. And
Absolutely.
I think that's just what's fun.
Yeah.
It's all about fun. And your and I's conversation beforehand, you have something there in front of you that you were explaining to me that I thought was absolutely unique. And you said, I'm like, that you got to talk about it, Jeff.
Yeah. So one of my very best friends, Jim Fortney, we've been lifelong friends. His father invented this game 50 plus years ago. Now this isn't the original board, but this is the game that he invented. And people go, "What's it called?" And I go, "Marbles." And they go, "What's it called?" And I go, "Marbles." It's not complicated. And it's a little like Trouble, We're Sorry. And in the beginning, it starts out very slow because you have to roll 1 or a 6 to get out. And so you could roll 4 or 5 times and not get out.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yeah, this game's a blast,"
Give me another beer.
Yeah. And but once you get out, if you land on your opponent, so I would be here and my partner would be over there, and then the other opposing team. So if my black marble landed on a red, it sends them home. And so once you start sending people home,
And
and now you get couples and they're playing, and of course it's got to be men against women, And,
Always.
And then it's, "Honey, you better not send me home." And he's like, boom, he's sending them home. And it takes about 45 minutes to play. People come in, they like to play me, and I am probably the best trash talker that I know.
I can't
talk
see
trash.
that, Jeff.
Oh man, I talk trash, and so then when they beat me, then it's just they're in their glory. It's a game of luck. Even though I believe that I am smarter than most people and make more intelligent moves, it's still as you're rolling a die. If you need a 5 and you roll a 4, it doesn't work, man. But I talk trash all the time. And if I say I'm going to roll 4 this time, and I say it every time, when I finally do roll 4, they're like, "That's amazing! You predicted what you were going to roll."
That goes back to that 5 out of 10 shot, right?
Right? Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
We have a blast playing that, and people, like I said, people do come in just to play marbles, but they drink.
That's what's cool about it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and again, that's something completely unique. I've never seen that before.
Yes,
and
and people buy them now. My buddy's brother will make them, and
Oh, that's
people,
awesome.
and some people just take a picture and make them.
Well, no, so I guess I was talking to you that the big boards that I've been playing,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like Sorry or whatever. I might be interested in one of them.
They're not cheap.
That's all right.
My buddy gave them to me, so it's,
No, I might be interested in getting one of them, putting
Yeah.
in my camper.
They're cool.
That's a good camping,
Yeah.
drinking game.
It is,
Or if
yeah.
we're sitting around the fire pit at the backyard, instead of talking shit, drink some beer, we'll play some games.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a fun game.
So that's pretty cool.
I'm getting dry again, so it's
Yeah,
probably time to introduce another beer.
There you go.
Well, Jeff's leading the way, so
right.
let's get into number 2.
So this is our Hefeweizen. This is our wheat beer.
Okay. So Hefeweizen, is this a staple here?
Yes, the three beers the first three beers we have are always on. The stout is always on.
All right, so this is a Hefeweizen.
Yes, this is our Wild River Hefeweizen. It is a unfiltered wheat ale, toasted malts, and citrus flavors. So cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. That's
Now, I don't like to use other big names, but for lack of a better, when people come in here and ask for a Blue Moon, this is
well, that's what basically Blue Moon is. It's a wheat beer.
right.
Right. But this is better than Blue Moon.
Well, that's what I tell them.
And
Eventually,
better-
you'll go places and you'll say, "Do you have a
Hefeweizen.
Hefeweizen?" You know, because you won't want that Blue
Better
Moon.
than Blue Moon, better than Shock Top.
Yeah.
So,
Now Tim does let me put lemonade in this, and we call it a Heffenade. And it is for those people who come in and say, I don't like beer. We do sell other things, ciders and
I was going to
and
ask
seltzers.
that. Yeah, so you do have some other options for people that are not beer people.
Yes, but I try to get them. I give them a sample of the Heffenade, and most of them, it's their intro beer to
Yeah.
beer. I do have this theory on craft beer, and that is you start out with a Hefe or a Pilsner or something like that. You move on to something like the Irish Red.
That's one of my favorites.
And you start drinking the others, and in the meantime, you're taking sips of IPAs and saying, "Ooh, this, yeah." But every time you start to your taste buds adjust to flavors, you keep trying the IPAs, and eventually the IPA becomes your go-to. Now you can come into Mudhook, and you can try our red, and you can say that's a very good red beer. Give me the IPA. Because eventually that's what you drink.
Yeah.
And I think when people hear the term craft beer, it's all hops and that's not craft beer.
Right.
That's just a small portion of it.
Right.
That is, I'm not much for Hefeweizens. I'm not a big wheat beer guy, but that is it's a good drinking, lighter beer for, like you said, for somebody that wants to kind of venture this way. This would be a good starter.
Or drink several.
Drink several.
Some people come in here on Saturday at 10 o'clock, or not 10, at noon when we open, and they're here at 5 o'clock, so they really shouldn't be drinking the IPA all afternoon. So.
Or the Cherry Lane.
So the Wild River has 25 check-ins on Untappd, so we got to get that one up there, listeners. Coming in at 3.55 rating.
And that's about where I was going to give it like a 3.5. Again, it's not Hefeweizen is not going to be my go-to, but it's a very good drinking beer. So yeah, I think you've had this several times, Kevin.
I have. Yep.
Dave, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking the same. I'm thinking it's a good drinkable beer.
Yeah.
And I probably would give it a 3.5.
Very
Well,
good.
Same.
And as a person who, again, I'm not on Untappd and stuff, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but people come in and they rate our beers, and you guys are open-minded to, this is not the kind of beer I would order and drink, but it's still pretty good beer.
Yes.
And when people come in and rate the beer, and like, I would never drink a Hefeweizen, well, then you really shouldn't be rating it, because you don't really have any idea what a good one is.
Exactly.
It's a little flat. And well, by its very nature,
It's what it is.
it is a little flat.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we sell tons of these, tons of them.
And
And then someone says it's a little flat, and I don't even know what to say to the person.
And we've heard that from several places.
Yeah, a lot
that
of places. They'll say that. They'll rate a beer that they don't drink it.
They don't know.
Yeah.
They don't like it. They don't drink it. Yet they'll rate it.
And what they should do is check it in. Don't give it a rating.
Yeah.
Now, if we've said this several times through this, is if we find one that we don't like and we give it a lower score than normal, in our description it's a good beer, but it's just not for me.
Yeah.
We're stating why we rated it low, but we're not giving it a bad rating because of the beer, because there's a lot of craft that goes into this.
Right.
And a lot of expertise. And that's where I think drew me to the craft beer scene. Is not only it's you could go out and get your mass produced stuff. This stuff is quality made, it's craft, and that's where craft came from. It's handcrafted. You're not going to find it somewhere else. And I just think the flavors are all out of this world, and I love it. That's
Yep.
kind of why I love this path. And it's when we started this is kind of why we're all here. We have an enjoyment for what we're doing,
Yep.
and we enjoy tasting everybody's beer. And
You go back year and a half, year now, and I didn't like anything but the stout.
Yeah.
You know, I like my whiskey, bourbon or whiskey, you know, and everything else was garbage. And I was that knucklehead that would give that 2 rating. And then my son took me aside one day. He's like, Dad, you don't understand what we're doing here.
And you don't understand, I mean,
You don't until you
yeah.
fast forward.
Well, even like Google ratings for the,
Oh,
for the-
Google.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean, people come in and they'll say, this was good, this was good, this was good, this was good, and the
Give you
crab-
2.5
the-
star.
Yeah, the crab cake was a little bit this, and then they give you a 3, and I'm like, really? Everything was really good, and we got a 3 because the crab cake was mediocre?
Yeah.
I mean, do you understand how many 5s you have to get
Yeah.
to make up for a 3?
yep.
And, you know,
I
so
had to-
that stuff's,
Go ahead. I had the same thing in mine. I'm an auto repair. New customer come in, found me online, and he had a newer Hyundai Elantra and a newer Mercedes 7 Series. First time in, we inspected and oil changed both his vehicles, gave him his recommendations, everything like you just described. Customer service was great, blah, 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 all that. 3-star. We were too pricey, but yet you're driving a Mercedes 7 Series.
yeah.
So I understand where that pain is. And like you said, it takes forever to make up for a bad rating.
Right. I think most people
Blow by them.
can see what's going on. So.
Yeah. So do you, back to Tim, your son-in-law, does he source local, or how does he get, what do you do for your ingredients? Do you try and keep it as local as possible, or?
The problem with local is because of our size. I mean, you know, people look and say, you make 2,000 pints of beer? That's pittance, you know what I mean, by standards. And so it's hard. We're not buying enough from anyone that they'll guarantee us anything. So we're going to need certain products. And so I don't think, I know because I pay the bills, some of the places we buy stuff, none of them are very local.
Okay.
Because we would like to do that. We do take our spent grain to a local farmer, and I've helped do that. The cows come running. You would think
Oh, yeah, I've heard
spent
that.
grain would be nothing. I mean, you would think you cooked all the stuff out of it, but it's real sweet, and they come running. I mean, we don't give it right to the animals, but so now I don't think we do too much local. It's just difficult to get the right products.
Do you, so we had mentioned about downtown York, and there are other breweries in downtown. Do you guys collab once in a while, or if they, hey, I'm running into a bind, do they come to help? From we've heard the craft beer does industry, like some of the brewers will help other brewers and stuff if they run into a problem.
To date, we haven't had to do that. We have collaborated on 2 beers. Unfortunately, we had 2 firefighters die, and we did an event for them where one of the places brewed a beer, and then we all sold it and donated. And then we also did one for a military group. The problem is we don't wholesale our beer, so we don't have the best brewing facility as 2 of the others. And so there were 6 of us at the time. We called it the York City 6. One of them went out of business, and 3 of us really are not in a position to brew like that, and it just became a little bit. But it's kind of like your brother and sister. You know, you don't always see them, but I know if I needed to, I just pick up the phone, and any one of those guys would help me in any way they could. So
Yeah, cool.
it's a very neat community.
Hey, quick question. Do you guys do anything with the Revolution? Like any special?
No, we did years ago.
Yeah.
And I moved my insurance agency downtown because of the stadium being in. I mean, I think it's a focal point for York, but it's an expensive proposition. And in order to sell your beer there, you have to advertise, and it's pricey. And again, we don't wholesale our beer. We did to them, and you better wholesale a whole lot of beer if you're going to make any money wholesaling, because I can sell my beers. There's 128 pints in a half keg, and at $6, I'm making over $700. If I wholesale my keg, it's like $170 is what the Revolution paid, and they were charging $7 and $8.
Oh yeah,
10 years ago.
they cheap to get in. It ain't cheap once you're in.
Yeah.
No.
So we're not.
But I think it's a magnificent
It's a
place
draw.
for the city, and has been a big addition to the city. But for us, it just hasn't been a thing we've been able to work through.
Do you distribute anywhere else?
No.
Nothing?
No, we have talked about it. Tim is a full-time engineer,
Okay.
and even though I think I pay Tim fairly well, probably not enough for the value he brings to the place. I can't replace his engineering salary, and so
Sure.
to go bigger, and I'm 64 now. My wife would like me out of this place, not expanding this place. So,
So describe some of the ways that the beer does go out the door here. We got a couple awesome looking items in front of you.
yeah, we have our growler. That's 4 pints of beer. You buy the growler, then you bring it back and get it refilled. This is a more expensive growler. We just introduced this one. We have a howler, which is 2 pints of beer. Again, it looks very much like this. It's just smaller. You pay $5 for them, and then you buy the beer at a reduced price, and you bring your growler or howler back. And then we also have this mason jar. So you buy a pint of beer this way to go, and if you bought this jar from me, it would cost you $4. If you buy a full beer, it costs you $1. So
Best to get a beer, then walk through those doors and go cruising the market.
you might as well. Yeah, you can drink over in the market. There's permission. So
So there's something special that you do out here in Cherry Lane New Year's Eve. Explain what you do, Jeff.
well, more than 9 years ago, because I've done it 9 straight years. We're sitting in here. We were only open in the beginning. We were open Wednesday and Thursday evening, and Friday and Saturday during the day. And we're sitting in here. It's a Monday or Tuesday, and we're drinking and working and talking, and mostly drinking and talking and drinking. And so finally, someone said, "You know what we ought to do? We ought to drop a pint of beer on New Year's Eve." And I thought they meant, like they drop a white rose or a red rose or a dill pickle, and it's just a big painting, or something. And I said, "Oh yeah, that'd be great." And they said, "No, I'm talking about a cup of beer." And I said, "Oh, okay." And they said, "Well, and I think you ought to catch it." Remember, we were drinking and talking and drinking and talking. So
Some of the best ideas come about that way.
Well,
Look at
I
us now.
said,
Yeah, look at us.
that's right. So I said, "Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'll do that." So now it's the very first night. It's freezing cold outside. We borrow a bucket truck from an electrician friend of mine, and we go out here into Cherry Park, and we'll have this a little later. It's a darker beer. Tim goes up about 2.5 stories high. I can hardly see him, let alone the cup of beer. And I'm looking around thinking, what in the blue blazes did I get myself into? Now, I played football in high school, and I was a soccer goalkeeper in college, so I know how to catch, but it was dark. I look up, and I'm like, this thing's going to hit me in the face, and this is not going to go well. So he drops it, and he took a video of it. It's a really cool video, but it came pretty fast. But I caught it up top and pulled it down, and I had challenged everybody who thinks that I'll catch this and have at least half a cup of beer. and who doesn't. You know, you go over this way, you go over this way, and most of the people were, you aren't going to catch this, and it certainly won't have half a beer in there. And so I caught it, and it had more than half a beer. No one was more surprised than me. And I raised that baby into the sky. And now we do this at 6 o'clock. We do it because it's a Belgian beer. And at 6 o'clock here, it is Belgium's New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So it's 6 o'clock at night. And most of my customers are 35 to 75. Not that we don't have young people, and we have some older than 75. But they don't want to be out at midnight. So we drop this Belgian beer at 6 o'clock. I catch it, raise it in the air, chug what's left down, and I have caught it for 9 straight years.
Whoa.
9
Now,
years. And how much have you worn?
It gets better. One year, it was like there wasn't much at all on me, and I said to Tim, man, I caught the whole thing. He said, well, I was drinking it up there. And it's funny, everything's a matter of perspective. I think it's hard to catch the beer. Tim thinks it's hard to drop the beer, which is true, because the one year
The trajectory, yeah.
it was a little crooked coming down, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not good. And so you have to drop it right. And but we're packed at 5 o'clock. People come out, they watch that. At 9 o'clock, we have live music, and at 9 o'clock, we give last call at 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve. I'm home, and so is everybody else, and everybody's happy. But we have a blast with that, and I'm not sure if people come now to see me catch it or they want to be here the first time I drop it. But either way, when I go home at night, I got cashola from all this, and that's a nice thing.
That's all that matters.
And friendship.
Again, that's another unique, cool story.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we might have to venture our way down here on a New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And we'll be dragging my wife home. So, speaking of, we've asked a lot of people this because your industry got hurt the hardest the last couple of years. How did you manage through it? Because every story's been unique as far as what they did to manage. How did you get through the pandemic?
First of all, if you didn't utilize the government money, shame on you. Now, again, I'm not real computer literate, so my son helped me through all that because they do require
A lot of
all these
paperwork,
things,
trust
yeah.
me.
But that made a huge difference. We got a fair amount of money. I mean, you know, you had to give it to employees who weren't really working. The first two, the PPP 1 and PPP 2. But you know, they needed the money too, and you know, so. But there were other grants available and stuff, and we did to go. We're not really designed to do to go. But my theory about COVID is the 90% of people who were nice people became even nicer people. Some of the tips that were left for my servers are heartwarming, unbelievable stories. Some were left for me. And I'm like, dude, that's ridiculous. He said, I want you to make it through this. And, you know, so the 10% of people that weren't nice to begin with became more difficult. They become less patient. And they're, you know, I had a lady yell at me the other day, every time I come in here, your kitchen's not open or you're closing. And I'm like, I don't know what you want me to say. Believe me, that's the very last thing I want to be, is closing and have my kitchen closed.
Find a way to help get people here that want to work.
Yeah, right. So, you know, but most people, I mean, the friendships I've made through this place, I made them through insurance too, but in insurance, I took your money and you grumbled. In here, I take your money and you say thank you. That's different, man.
Complete
That's
opposite.
different, yeah.
So, hey, we got some news, and then, Ben, there's something that, there's a network or something that we're trying to look to get listed on.
So the Hopped Up Network, they're an independent podcast network. I ran across them on social media a few weeks ago. I actually just spoke with them this afternoon, sent over the RSS feed, the podcast logo, that sort of stuff. So we're looking forward to that relationship starting very soon. We just have to talk 50% educational interview style, which we cover more than enough of that, and then mention them. So shout out to Hopped Up Network. We're looking forward to working with you guys.
Yeah. So, and then we do got some news, some stuff that I saw. One thing, and Jeff, Tim might understand some of this on the hop culture letter I saw out there. They were talking about some new hop trends, and I guess it came from the CBC that was out in Minneapolis a couple weeks ago. One of them is from New Zealand hops, which I think that's where the Phantasm powder originated.
Yep.
And Totally Natural Solutions, they released a hop oil extract at the Craft Brewers Conference. And these oils are supposed to replace the traditional pellets. It's supposed to concentrate more on the flavoring. It's going to give it a little more. It's going to concentrate more on what that lupulin is supposed to be like, with less waste. Like you had said, you had spent grains and stuff, and the hops leave some waste as well. Like the pellets or the actual hop itself.
Right.
So that's some new trends that I saw. Also, the home brew competition that PA Brewers in PA is doing. Tickets are out, and then June 11th, the first event for the home brewers competition for that will be at Free Will Brewing. So that should be fun. Any festivals, Dave?
Yes. Oh, you want?
Well, yeah, I want you to
Okay.
fucking answer.
He did answer.
I did answer. There's the Brews and Bites Festival. It's in Morrisville, and it's on Saturday, June 25th. And there's another one. It's Lansdale Beer Festival, and that's also on a Saturday, and that's also on June 25th. So
Pick
you
your
might
poison.
want to. What's that?
I said, pick your poison.
Yeah, I was
You
going to
want.
say if you want to catch them both, you got some traveling to do.
Yeah. Jeff, do you guys participate in any craft brew festivals or anything like that, beer tasting areas or?
We have done those in the past, but when you talk about COVID, that's one of the areas. I mean, staffing has just become the issue
Right.
for us, and I just don't want to send our beer out. One of the things that happened when we were with the Revolution was Liquid Hero had beer there, and we had beer there. And I was walking by the stand. The guy didn't know who I was, and I heard him describing our two beers, and I was mortified. I mean, he obviously was an employee that was sent there to sell beer, and he had this is the dark one, this is the light one. That's how he described it. And you know,
It's the
go
flat
well.
beer.
Yeah, right. And so, we just don't want to send anybody out. So we want to do that, but we have not been to one for a while. We used to go to the one over there at the Celtic thing. We used to go to that
The
one.
Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair.
Yeah.
So
Now, we are going to do something a little bit different with my son. He owns a greenhouse in southern York County called Pheasant Run.
I was going to ask that.
And we'll have 3 of our beers on tap, some of our mixed drinks and our wines and seltzers and ciders. And we'll have live music and food trucks. And this is down at his greenhouse. And it's the first time we've done this. We've done one so far this year. Of course, we were going to do it on this past Saturday, and the weatherman said 70% chance of rain.
and it never came
I think it
anyhow.
rained for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that maybe they just got their numbers messed up. But we have one coming up Memorial Weekend. I know we're not broadcasting before that, but
But what-
if you go to our website or to Pheasant Run's website, it's every other Saturday.
And where is Pheasant Run at?
It is about a mile south of Loganville.
Okay. And it's strictly a greenhouse? Is that what he does?
That's my son's full-time job. He does help here, and I help down there. So we scratch each other's backs a little bit.
Oh, boy. My wife might have found a new place to go visit for more flowers.
Well, and that is the beauty. I mean, normally he closes at
No,
4
it's
on
not.
Saturday. Oh, yeah.
I can't complain, Jeff. The money she spends on plants Even though sometimes I feel like in my imagination, I'm Bill Murray on Caddyshack, and I got that driver all over them buds. The money I spend on this craft beer,
Right, yeah.
and the fireworks that I do every year, I can't really say much. So.
You
Yep.
mean those sparklers you set off every year?
Yeah, the little
Those
sparklers.
little sparklers, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I think we're getting a little parched here. What's you parched, Jeff?
I am, yes.
You're getting a little dry. So what's
am.
number 3 that we're going to be doing?
Well, that's the Red Eye Irish Red. Now, all the beer names have something to do with fishing. I had said that a Mudhook was another name for an anchor, but our logo really is a muddy hook. We didn't really like an anchor, and so my son-in-law and most of my family likes to go fishing. The irony or sad part of it is since I have a Mudhook, I don't really have time to go fishing. But the beer names, most of them, a red eye is a type of bass. So
Yeah. So this is the Red Eye Irish Ale.
the Red Eye Irish Red. This is a very popular beer. Tim and I disagree mildly on this one. I say it finishes a little bit like coffee. Tim says not at all. So for you craft guys that know what you're talking about, Tim's right. For the average person that doesn't that thinks I'm smart, they say, yeah.
And if I remember right, this is what you gave us when we
Yeah.
for our St. Patty's episode that we did with the brewery tours.
Yes.
So-
Yep. It has a roasted barley in, and that's why I think it finishes a little bit like coffee. But
You smell it.
again,
Jeff, I will agree with you. I got a little bit of that roasted stuff, which reminds you of a coffee,
right.
but this is still very good.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
I don't drink coffee, but I drink the red eye. So.
I could drink the Red Eye a lot. This is a red Irish ale, a nut brown ale have become some of my favorite go-tos.
So years ago, they used to have the bike.
York Bike
event.
Night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bike
I've been down here several times with that.
Well, it's no more.
I
Harley
know.
Davidson doesn't have any money like every other business, and so at least they say, and so they aren't doing it anymore. But the guys would come in, and they thought we were a regular bar, and they'd say, bud. I said, well, we don't do bud. what do you have? Tastes like bud. And, I give them either this or a lager or pilsner. And they say, I like that.
So you speak of that,
Forrest
I
Gump.
belong to a motorcycle riding. I'm president of it, and I've told my group several times if nobody plans a ride, I'm planning a ride, and it's going to be around a craft brewery place. You don't like it, find something to do. But most there's a couple guys in my chapter that don't like craft. All they drink is Miller Lite or Coors Light, and that's all they would drink. They won't even taste us, and I'm like, there's a Pilsner on the thing. It's going to be better than Miller Lite, but it's going to be similar profile. So try the Pilsner.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what Miller Lite is. It's a Pilsner.
Right. Exactly, yeah.
And it tastes better than Miller Lite. Anything tastes better than Coors Light. This is a very good beer.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you got to look us up on Untappd. Look up Mudhook on Untappd, and by all means, get in here and try this fabulous beer. And
That red eye had a 3.45 on Untapped with 1.8 thousand check-ins. So
are these your staple beers that we're trying? I mean,
Yes,
they are always
all three
on
of
tap.
those, and the stout would be the other one, yes.
And then you have some other recipes you blend in there once in a while.
Tim probably has 50 different recipes now. And of course, people come in and they go, when are you going to put the coffee porter back on? And I don't think that's going back on. Because he bases it on how long it took to sell 2,000 pints, And but there's somebody that's their favorite beer,
I'm going to say, I haven't had that one. I'd be interested in that, but I don't know if I'm buying 2,000 pints worth.
Right, yeah. So he has a lot of different beers. We had a crappy Dunkel, and we had all kinds of different beers through the years. And
So Jeff, what's the mud room?
that's upstairs. It is a game room. There's a shuffleboard up there. There's a dartboard up there. And prior to COVID, it was really taken off, and people were going up there. But it can hold 20 people, but it's pretty close. And so since COVID, it really hasn't done a whole lot. We're talking about maybe putting a pool table up there. It'll be a little small for a pool table, but I don't think there's too many places in York that do pool tables. Now, maybe we'll find out why. But Tim's buddies from his main job, they like to play pool, and so I know I'd get their money. Always a good thing to take somebody's money, right?
Money's good.
Money is good. When you were doing your walk around with Dave and Ben, I heard you when you were over at the taps. There was something special about your tap handles.
Yeah, another good friend of mine, Keith Clayhold. He made those taps for me years ago, along with the hook in our sign. He made that for me too. He's obviously a woodworker, and he just came up with those and didn't charge me anything. Wanted me to have them. And now Tim has made some. Keith moved away, and so we needed some additional ones. And my son-in-law is very handy, and he made some. The tables out on the porch, my son, not the one that owns the greenhouse, he's a teacher, he made several of my tables out on the porch. This is very much a family business. Some of the food menus, Ma's Meatballs, my wife is Ma, and there's a special thing to her meatballs. Our chili is all turkey products, and that's her recipe. And our first cook wanted us to put more kidney beans in, and my wife said, I don't want kidney beans in there. Now, they have some, but she wanted more. And my wife, she said, we can't make any money on this if we put kidney beans, or if we don't put kidney beans in. And my wife said, well, then we won't make money on this. I keep her out of some of the other decisions, but we're pretty famous for our chili as well.
That's good. I mean, I haven't had a bad meal in here. So, Jeff, what are your hours that people can come out here and visit you?
Ooh, I wish I could tell you for 100% for sure. Right now, we're leaning towards Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 11:30 to 9. Saturday, 11:30 to 10, and Sunday, 11:30 to 5.
And that'll depend on the situation we had discussed earlier.
Those hours, I am now in the kitchen. I don't wear a lot of hats. I wear different shirts in here.
Right.
And so I am learning to cook, and so far I haven't injured or killed anybody, and nor have I injured myself. So far it's been a success. I call that cell block 27, though, because I'm a pretty social person, and being stuck back in the kitchen, worrying about getting the things out right is not my cup of tea. But right now, that's what needs to be done, and that's what you do when you own a place. You know, you run the business.
Yeah. Well, what do you do to relax though? You have any hobbies or sports? You quarterbacking for some team somewhere? Or?
I coached for a long, long time.
Did you?
And yes, but I'm a very intense coach. I was a blockhead as a young child, not very coachable.
Oh,
and
okay.
So when I became a coach, I gravitated to those kinds of people. I wanted them to understand that you don't have to be a blockhead. But it kind of made me a little bit intense. And you either loved me or you didn't. A lot of people loved me, but a lot of people didn't. And so my style of coaching would not go over today.
What did you coach? I was curious.
Mostly soccer.
Soccer.
I did basketball at York Catholic for 3 years, the ninth grade basketball. And that was too intense for me. I mean, the people are right there, and, you know, coaching makes soccer, the fans are behind you, you're dressing out that way, but, you know. So, yeah, I played football and basketball in high school, and then I played soccer. I was a goalkeeper in college. So I have 3 children, 9 grandchildren. They all live very close.
Cool.
We live on a 6-acre farm. My son's greenhouse is right next door. So there's over 5 acres of grass to cut. There's a dozen gardens to weed. And I find that very relaxing. It sounds crazy. You know, people say, well, you can come to my house and weed.
And now it's a job.
When I get the yes, you're right. Yeah, but when I can do it at my pace, and if I pull out a plant, my son has a greenhouse. If I pull out the wrong thing, my wife just goes and replaces it. But that is, and fishing.
Yeah, take the Mudhook name. So, I love mowing my grass. I might be weird.
Anal.
Yeah, I am anal about my grass.
We have a couple names.
But mowing with a beer, drinking a beer.
Yeah.
It's nothing more therapeutic than that. So,
That's probably what everybody thought when you borrowed my tractor at one time.
oh shit,
And
he has a Toro zero turn, and I'm not used to those things. And my tractor didn't work, and I needed to get my grass mowed. This is what, a couple years ago.
a
And
couple years ago.
I've never driven a zero turn, and you should have seen me trying to drive this thing in a straight line. It did not happen.
Yeah.
And I was going ballistic, but I got most of my yard mowed. I came around to the one side, and didn't it shut off and die? And I'm like, shit. I broke Dave's tractor.
Yeah, he broke my tractor. Yep.
So, guys, any last questions over there?
No, I'd like to thank you. This is wonderful. I don't know, last 4 or 5 years we've been coming, not as often as we'd love to, but, you've always given us great stories. Food is always good. It's just a great scenery. I mean, a couple of times we were out by the fire, and a couple of times, in at the bar, and it was a little quiet, and other times it was rowdy as hell in here. So it was different atmosphere every time, and just totally fun. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I
For this and
appreciate
everything.
that.
Yeah. Dave, any last comments?
No, just a couple of, the funny thing about it is until I realized when we did the showcase and walked out and we were in the, and I
I
said,
could tell when you spent out there. Yeah.
well, I've eaten lunch out there so many times because I used to work downtown, and we used to come over here a lot, and I never realized that you could just like walk through the doors and get a beer.
Yeah. Well, that's what I say. The kettles kind of attract people, but they don't understand.
They don't understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds
And
like
I didn't understand it. Whenever until I came from this end, then I understood.
Sounds like we need a big neon sign out there.
Yeah,
Good beer with blinking.
yeah.
Ben, any last comments?
Yeah, so Jeff, we went over the growlers and the mason jar up front. What about the mug club? I look behind the bar, see dozens of mugs. Tell us about the mug club.
Yeah, we've been doing that for 8 or 9 years. I'm going to say up to about 3 or 4 years ago, the LCB made a fuss over a mug club because you weren't allowed to sell somebody in a club a discounted beer. And so I forget which place over in Lancaster got in trouble. And so my theory was we would do these mugs, and they're not an exact size. And if the LCB had come in, I'd have just said, well, I don't know if it's more than 16 ounces or not. Now that you're allowed to, I know they're 22 ounces to 23 ounces. But you pay $80 the first year. That buys you your mug. And we keep it here. And when you come in, you pay the same price as everybody else, except you're getting 22 ounces and they're getting 16. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if you come in, you get half off your food. On your birthday, you get a free meal. Once a year on a Monday night like tonight, we'll have them all come in and we'll drink and eat. Last year I did meatballs and wings. Probably can't afford to do wings this year.
Oh, my God, no.
Whoever thought wings would become such a, you know.
But I think the mug's unique in itself. Most people have a mug club where they're all the same, and they just get like an engraving. Yours look like they're pottery handcrafted.
They are. We had a local lady do them for the first several years, and I guess 2 years ago she decided she wasn't an elderly woman and wasn't going to do it anymore, and so I just decided to buy everybody that renewed new mugs, which was right in the middle of the pandemic, and people were pretty pleased and impressed that we did that. But I wanted everybody to have the same style, and you know,
It's a cool thing, and there's a coaster underneath that you were telling me previously about the significance of that. But you came up with that?
No, Again, I don't,
Another drinking
I don't
night?
have any ideas. Yeah.
Surround yourself with smart people.
That's right. A customer that comes in fact, he plays in the band Stonewood, and they'll be down at Pheasant Run sometime. I don't know if it's June or July. Jimmy, he's a wonderful guy. You know, when the mug is sitting here and you're at the bar, you kind of have to stick your nose down in to see if the mug needs any beer or anything. And so he said, what you do is you get a coaster like this, you put the red side up, and that means I don't need anything. And when I need a beer, I just flip it over to the green side, and that means I need a beer. Now, again, I'm not completely observant all the time, so they like to bust my chops and say, you know, that green side's been up now for 10 minutes. I said, well, then get a server to help you. You know, I'm just here to talk, man. Now I'm in the kitchen.
And
now.
play marbles.
Yeah.
So, anything else, Ben?
I was just going to go over our next guest.
Yeah. Fill
So,
us in.
so our next release after this one is going to be with Jem's Hop Farms, a nice couple out of Carlisle. So look forward to that, and then look forward to we're going to dive a little bit more into the live
videos.
live video game. We're going to come out with a weeknight in the future, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. Jeff, thanks again for your time. This has been
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I
So,
appreciate it.
Jeff, one last time, let people know where they can find you, social media, internet, phone. Just tell people where they can find Mudhook Brewing.
Well, we are on Facebook. Again, I don't do any of that. My son, I'm not on Facebook. I don't want to know if you have medical problems or anything else.
How many
crazy
times
like
you went to
that.
the bathroom?
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but my wife's told me about her friend, and I'm like, oh my God,
I'm with you,
I don't
man.
want to know that.
You don't
Please
want
tell me.
you don't want to know what orifice is. Long story behind that, but we won't go into that.
So, but we do have Facebook. We have a website. I think we're on Instagram, but I lose track of all that stuff. But my son is relatively young and keeps us on social media. So we're at 34 North Cherry Lane, and
Right connected to Central Market.
yes.
So
People say this place is like Cheers, and I say, well, that makes me Sam Malone, and they say, no, it makes you Coach.
Coach. Oh God, Coach.
I've been called a lot worse than Coach, so
No,
I'll take that.
That's a
take that.
compliment.
Yeah.
I grew up and I actually cried the last episode of Cheers when Sam, that guy came down, knocked on the door, and said, "Sorry, we're closed," and he turned the lights out. That was the last episode. I freaking bawled like a little baby.
Well, that's not going to happen here. We have
No.
no intentions of closing Mudhook.
Do you have a Norm?
Oh, we have all those characters. We have a Carla. I don't know that we have a Diane. I've been blessed with really good servers. The ones I have now are wonderful young people, and through the years, I jokingly call the people in the kitchen kooks, not cooks.
Kooks.
And now that I have gone back to the kitchen, I understand it's just a completely different animal. But I've been blessed with some really wonderful employees, and the friends that I have made, you know, through opening Mudhook. Last story I have for you is, what would you do if you couldn't be an insurance agent? Someone asked me that, and I said, well, I would work for Disney or Hershey or Busch Gardens, because you go to those places and people go in and they know they're going to spend money, and they go into that place and they leave with, they look tired, but you never really see anybody complaining or anything. And in my problem is I couldn't work for somebody. So
Right.
I had to work for me. And so in my little way, I've created my own Busch Gardens, Disney. You could go anywhere and spend your money, but you choose to come to Mudhook. And hopefully when you leave, you're in a better mood than when you entered.
And you've
And
made some
so-
good friends and some good memories.
Oh, boy. Yep.
Happened about every time for me.
Yeah. Jeff, we really appreciate this opportunity. It's a great location. So, folks, you need to get down here to 34 North Cherry Lane. Visit Mudhook. And if you're here, happen to be during the day on a Saturday, if you're in the market, come through past the brew tanks and come through the door to Mudhook. Fabulous place. Jeff, your hospitality has been great. We really appreciate this. And we got a Cheers beer here. And Ben, one last time, where can they find us?
We are at Central PA Pour. All social media, all podcast listening platforms, and YouTube.
All right.
Well, I want to cheers to you, because I think what you do is a service to everybody that finds you, and I think you guys do a wonderful job.
Thank you.
You make me feel very comfortable at this, and it's just a good thing that you do for everybody. So,
Well, we appreciate that. So what
Thank
are we
you.
going to be cheersing
Thank you.
here, Jeff?
well, this is my Belgian ale. So this is the Cherry Lane. So this is 10%, and I think I didn't tell the story this past year. I hardly spilled any. And I always chug what's left. And this is 10%. So I felt that. I wasn't drunk.
No, but you
I
got a
felt
little
it.
warm in the head.
Yeah.
So the Belgian, this is a Cheers beer. So folks, look us up, give us a like, let us know if you have something you want us to try, and by all means, Jeff, thank you again very much. Tell Tim, your son-in-law, great beer. This has been a great time. Let's all raise our glass with the CPP, and let's all be bonded by beer. Cheers.
Cheers.